Boston, Winnipeg. How about this for a great East versus West matchup? 7-8 on the rotation. Winnipeg minus 135. Total here 5.5. Shaded to the over, minus 115 to minus 120. Should be an interesting hockey game here between these two teams. The Bruins coming off a overtime win against Minnesota, a game that saw the return of Patrice Bergeron to the Bruins lineup. Not a moment too soon. We talk about how important he is in all three zones, in all facets of the game: scoring, face-offs, penalty kill, defensive awareness. That's Patrice Bergeron in a nutshell right there. He gives that all to the Boston Bruins on a nightly basis. They beat Minnesota in overtime Sunday night. Brad Marchand, amazingly, with 5 overtime game-winning goals this season. You talk about a guy that's been able to come through in the clutch and score big goals in big spots for the Boston Bruins. Brad Marchand has done that time and time again. And look at this. Don Sweeney, everything he touches is turning to gold right now. He's actually, starting to prove some doubters wrong. So a lot of people that were not, very high on Sweeney early on when he assumed the GM role after they fired Peter Chiarelli. But, he's made some good moves, some good signings. Look at Ryan Donato, who just steps right into this Bruins lineup and contributes offensively after they signed him, college free agent. So you got to, and just another player to add some more depth to this Bruins team. So, again, a lot to like with this Boston team. A lot to like with this Winnipeg Jets team as well. I mean, two teams playing really good hockey. I think two teams that are motivated as well to tune up, fine-tune their game, and go into the playoffs playing well and playing their best. We saw that. We've seen that from each of these teams lately. Winnipeg, a very nice win for them against Nashville, a team that had been a little bit of their nemesis this season. Winnipeg finally gets a win over the Nashville Predators on Sunday. A little bit of a statement game for them. They certainly played like that. That was a great hockey game. That was not a good game. That was a great game, Nashville and Winnipeg on Sunday night. It had everything, up and down, great pace, great goaltending, because it actually could have been worse than 5-4. Both goalies, Saros and Hellebuck, actually in that game played very well. It was lots great pace to it, very nasty as well, very physical, a lot of scrums. Tyler Myers looks like he wants to kill PK Subban at one moment in that hockey game. I mean, it just had everything, basically, that you would want in a good hockey game. Basically, and it had everyone on Twitter: Pierre LeBruns of the world, Bob McKenzie's of the world, Darren Dragers, all these insiders, the NHL insiders saying, give us a Nashville-Winnipeg playoff series, please. And I totally agree. Everybody's saying it after that game on Sunday night. Please let these two teams meet each other in the playoffs, because it would be one hell of a series. To be honest, in this game, I don't have a whole lot. I mean, I think it's going to be a great game to watch. I think you're going to get both teams wanting to make a statement against the other. Totals wise, it could go either way. Boston and Winnipeg fully capable of playing a 5-4 game, also fully capable of playing a 3-1 game. I mean, they could play either style, could be lower scoring, could be higher scoring, could go either way there. So fascinating game to watch. I'm interested to see it. Won't be involved, though, from a betting perspective on it. Alex B. Smith might be, though, because this is one of his games. Bruins and Jets, good game on the card tonight. Alex, what do you got for us here?
Yeah, it's both teams are really good. They're both fighting. They're already in the playoffs, but they're trying to, at least in Boston's case, they're only 2 points behind Tampa Bay. So there's still a really good chance that they could sneak ahead and try and grab the division lead in the Atlantic. But everything seems to be kind of firmly set within the Central. Winnipeg 5 points behind Nashville, so it would take a little bit more work. But both these teams, they, like I said, want to go in rested and ready for the playoffs. Both have had injury concerns, key players out missing. In the last couple of games, like you said, Bergeron coming back, but there's still some guys missing for Boston. I could see this being a game where both teams kind of play a little bit tight, not a whole lot of, not going to be taking a whole lot of different risks and chances and so forth. I can see this game actually going into overtime. I talked about the three-way lines yesterday, how they helped me win with the Florida in regulation. This is a game I would probably put maybe just a little bit on the draw. I could see this game going to be 2-2 after 60 minutes. Like I said, both goaltenders playing very well, and both teams just really, they don't make a whole lot of mistakes. They both play well on the penalty kills and the power play, so everything kind of evens out for both these teams when they're playing at a high level. So I'm really looking at the three-way draw here. I think this game goes in overtime, and then we could see it's just whoever has the best chance in the overtime frame or the shootout that ends up winning this one.
Yeah, they just both played an overtime game in their most recent game Sunday night. So there you go. And again, that's a good point about the how it looks on the sports book. Each sports book's different with how they do that. The books with the three-way line, you think the game goes to overtime, you bet the draw option, obviously. If it's a two-way line, there's some books that Pinnacle is a good one. You can actually, there's a prop there. Will the game go to overtime? Yes or no? Yes, no, will it go to overtime prop is available at Pinnacle. And that's another way you could get at that overtime prop that Alex is talking about. So two ways, the three-way line, you bet the draw, or you could look for a yes, no overtime prop, which Pinnacle and I think a couple other books as well have that. So very possible we could see an overtime game here. I do think it'll be tight, good game. Bruins, you're right. Right down Tampa Bay's backside right now in terms of the Atlantic Division. Only 2 points behind. Tampa Bay again last night. Rough loss for them at home against the Arizona Coyotes. But again, I told you yesterday, Antti Ranta's playing great hockey right now for the Arizona Coyotes. He is. He's playing phenomenal. He's been, I think, 2 goals or less in 4 or 5 straight starts, and it's very good again last night against Tampa Bay, leading them to that victory in Tampa. So good news for Boston fans. The division is still in their grasp. They can still snatch it away from Tampa Bay. Interesting observers watching this from afar, of course. Toronto Maple Leafs, because this is going to determine who their first round opponent's going to be. Is it going to be Boston if they stay in the 2 hole, or it could still be Tampa Bay if they slip down to the 2nd spot in the Atlantic Division and Boston overtakes them for first in the Atlantic. So the Leafs very much interested in this Boston-Tampa race for first in the Atlantic Division. Andrew McGinnis, this is everybody involved in this game. Andrew as well. Jets and Bruins. Andrew, take it away. What do you got?
All right, yeah, guys. Ultimately, I just think that you look at the stats in this match. I look at the average goals per game. I think Boston at 3.28, Winnipeg 3.33. You look at that, and you can't really expect to see that every single night. But that last game against Minnesota, we saw from Boston. I don't think that's the team we're going to be seeing for the playoffs and the next couple of weeks. I think we're going to see more of an exciting team now that Bergeron's back, especially. And one thing that really has to be a point that has to be made about Bergeron is that even though he is like that scorer and that great line mate to have, he's known for his two-way skill, and people don't realize that even though that's not a way to put the puck in the back of the net, that just shows great leadership. He's a role model for a lot of players, and it really rubs off on people. A lot of people have Bergeron back in the lineup. They see the stuff he does, they see how he performs, they see his work ethic, and they start doing the same thing as well. So I think having him back in the lineup is key, and having him down the middle is really big for them. Again, but having said that, they do have Backus out. They do still have Chara out. They do still have Rick Nash out, DeBrusque, and McAvoy. But I think that having Bergeron back is just such a boost for this team. I mean, they're already playing excellent hockey. They're headed in the right directions. And to be quite honest, this is a possible Stanley Cup final matchup, guys. And I think this should be an exciting game. And I think, Ian and I talked about this last year during the playoffs. And I personally think that I've been saying all year that I think in some key matchup opportunities, the under is a play. But, sometimes I think when it is such a, very hyped up game and two teams that could see each other here in the waking days of the playoffs, I think this game could get up and over the 5.5. And, seeing both these two teams getting a 5.5, I know they do have both extraordinary goaltenders, but just the way these two teams have been playing right now, I think that the way they're going to collide right now deserves an overlook. And for Boston right now, a fun stat looking at it, they had that Minnesota 2-1 victory. And the funny thing about Boston right now, they have a stat where the over is 7-3 in their last 10 after allowing 2 goals or less in the previous hockey game. So, they had a pretty relaxed game against Minnesota. I mean, it was a good hockey game, very skillful game, but it definitely wasn't that run and gun type game and that really high tempoed game. So I think with these two teams, with the depth they have up front, I mean, one thing I want to say too is Paul Stastny for this Jets team. I mean, he has been extraordinary. Putting him right in the middle of Ehlers and Laine, he's been a great fit between them. And of course, I think the Jets, you have to mention it again, they are very, very happy to have Scheifele back. They're looking pretty good as well. But I just love the Winnipeg's depth, I think down the middle especially. And of course, I have to mention Kyle Connor stepping things up. He's been huge. He's making it look like he's been in this league for 10 years right now. So ultimately, guys, I'm looking at the over in this one. I just feel like these two teams are too talented. The 5.5 is really encouraging me right now. And I think that with the way this matchup is, the way the Bruins had their last couple of games, I think they're due for a pretty big high-scoring game. And I think the Jets aren't going to lay off the gas whatsoever. They know all these games are important. It's important to show you can win against the East. And so this is kind of that West versus East matchup, guys, that I think should be a really exciting game, the game of the night, over 5.5 my play.
All right, over 5.5 for Andrew, Boston, and Winnipeg. They've actually stayed on. Have they two unders, one push, but the push was a 5, and it had 5 goals. So it has been a lower scoring recent series history. All 3 meetings since the start of last season, Boston and Winnipeg would be under a total of 5.5. Boston, obviously, with Bergeron back, I think that's a big thing for them defensively, every bit as it is offensively. And you see it against Minnesota. They only give up 25 shots in that game with a 2-1 win. Again, with total in this game, it could go either way to me. So that's why I'm not playing it. How about Dana? He's also got something on this Bruins and Jets game. I told you, everybody wants a piece of this game. It's such a great game. We got to get involved. Dana, Bruins, Jets, what do you got?
Yeah, I mean the addition of Bergeron is huge, and really, if you look at the Boston Bruins, I mean, you could look at that top line and say, well, that's the reliable line, and everything else is kind of a mixed bag. I mean, but Bergeron coming back is absolutely huge. I mean, you add a 4-time Selke Award winner, a guy that's fantastic in the faceoff circle, which is absolutely the biggest thing that he brings as far as on the ice play. Of course, his leadership is huge as well, but his Corsi numbers are amazing. His the offensive zone start percentage is almost at 60%. So he just allows you to carry the puck more. He allows you to possess the puck more, and obviously that leads to more opportunities. The Bruins had lost 4 out of 6, and then rebounded against Minnesota and Dallas, and it's kind of that ride that I expected Boston to be on when they had this a ton of injuries. They still have a ton of injuries to big name players, and obviously from a Boston perspective, if they can get some of these guys back, I mean, they're going to be even more dangerous in the postseason. I think they're doing a lot of things with band-aids right now. I don't know how much you're going to be able to, rely on Donato. We also see, Rick Nash is out of the lineup as well. So that would be a guy that would kind of put a bigger band-aid on things. But of course, he's out, and they're just, everybody's kind of stepping up every single night. It's next man up. And they do, only trail Tampa by 2, and they also have a game with Tampa remaining. And then after that, the majority of their games are at home. So I think, Boston's obviously going to bring in a focused effort. For Winnipeg, one of the major reasons why they've had so much success is their power play, and one of the things that the Boston Bruins do really well is killing off penalties, and we'll see which one kind of wins out with that. But I always will take the side of the penalty killers versus the team with the man advantage. So I think Boston has a advantage there. And then I think what I would do is I'd wait a little bit on this number because, and I'm surprised it hasn't gone that way already. We do see some Boston money come in, but once word gets out that Hudobin is getting the start, I think that you're going to see some Jets money, and it's not a high price. For once, you get the Jets at a pretty reasonable price, but this is a chance for Hudobin to really show off who he is. I mean, this is really, I don't think people realize what a chance that Bruce Cassidy is giving Hudobin at this point, playing a upper echelon team, which is not really the teams that he usually plays against. I think the last time he beat a quality opponent or a team that's going to be in this year's postseason was back in November when he beat San Jose at the SAP Center, and that's a team he's beaten twice this season. So normally this is not a situation where you would see Hudobin play. I think that he understands that this is really his chance to say, hey, look, I am a goaltender that you can rely on for the future. So I expect a fantastic effort out of them, or out of him, and they know that they need to play well defensively tonight. There's no reason not to try and take this plus money. I mean, the Bruins are every bit as good as Winnipeg. I think the Boston and Winnipeg are kind of in the same boat where I really love Boston's first line. In fact, I think Boston's first line is go out and maybe a little bit of a limb and say I think they're the best in hockey, but I don't think Winnipeg's too deep either. They have their top line, their second line is solid as well, but I don't think they go 3 and 4 lines. So I think both of these teams match up really well. I know Boston's had their problems against Winnipeg in the past, but I'm willing to take a shot with the plus money against Winnipeg tonight.
All right, Boston plus price here, and with Winnipeg off the big win against Nashville, and really Boston truly having a lot more to play for here, to be honest, in terms of the standings. They can still obviously pass Tampa. Winnipeg's pretty much locked in. Maybe worth a shot to look at that Boston plus money. The one concern for me personally on that side was the Hudobin factor. He's lost his last 3 starts. Is this going to be a chance for him to step up and play better? Because he's got to. He's got a good team in front of him. Time for him to step up, play a little bit better. He's on a 3-start losing streak. That's my issue there with backing them with him in net. But maybe it's a chance for him against a good team to, as Dana says, maybe show up, deliver a good effort. And you're right, Winnipeg's top 6, yeah, Perreault, Kopp, and Little's not a bad third line. And Little scored the other night, which is good. You want to see Winnipeg can get some offense from that third line. But their top 2 lines are phenomenal. Kyle Connors had a tremendous year. What a breakout season for him with Scheifele and Wheeler. Ehlers, Stastny, and Lyonnais. It doesn't get much better than that. That is a great top 6 forwards right there for the Winnipeg Jets. But with a lot of teams, you do get concerned.
If I might about that, I mean, Ian, yeah, he's lost his last 3 starts, but his last start was an overtime loss to St. Louis, and then before that, he lost to Florida and Chicago, and he made 36 saves against Chicago in the loss. He only gave up 3 goals, which I know is kind of my standard,
Yep.
but I mean, it wasn't like he's not played well. In both of those teams, Florida and Chicago both put a ton of shots on net, so I don't consider them bad losses. I mean, bad losses would be his prior 2 to those 3 if he lost to Detroit or Montreal.
Yeah, exactly. Those were the ones that, yeah, are glaring. So we'll see what he gets. You're right. It's kind of weird that this stage of the season, you're trying to track down Tampa here. You're right there. You can catch them. And here's Bruce Cassidy and the Sundance Kid giving Tuukka Rask a night off and going with Anton Hudobin. So it's an interesting call there, without a doubt.
Hey guys, thanks for tuning in to our channel. Now, we've put a lot of work into producing all these free videos, so please help us out and keep all our content free for you forever by simply liking, sharing, commenting, and subscribing. Now, not to mention, a visit to our industry-leading website will warm the hearts of all our SBR employees, especially myself. Now, the links are over there to the left, so do check those out. Thanks for watching.